Hey there, Al. Perhacs, author, creator, visionary behind the Mind Force method of high performance coaching. And in this video, I'm going to talk about preparing mentally for success. Now, I'm going to take you through an email that someone sent me, a client, somebody that I've been assisting. And I want to take you through what she's going through, because it's going to be very much what you might go through, or like anyone would go through. So anyway, I got an email the other day from this young lady. Of course, I've redacted her name. I do that with all my clients. Unless you want to be a testimonial, unless you want somebody to know that I'm coaching you and giving you the tools for your success, we keep everything anonymous. There's a lot of executives out there that I coach, CEOs, presidents, vice presidents, business owners, entrepreneurs that just don't want to share everything, because we go deep into the mind. We go deep into what possible traumas you may have that are causing you to not get the maximum from your life. And the same thing's true here. Anyway, let's just jump right into it. As I've been going, I'm going to read this to you. Hello, Mr. Perhacs. As I've been going through the coursework and taking action, I've been having some interesting emotions come up. It's a feeling like there's two me's fighting for dominance in my body. And they're probably fighting for dominance in her mind and her body and her soul, her emotions. I get excited when a new opportunity presents itself. Newly emerging me starts to see all the possibilities, but the old me tries to push all of my doubts into the situation and takes away a lot of the pure excitement that she felt initially. She says, I've been doing pretty well with blocking the thoughts and that it's getting easier. So let's break that down a little bit. You have this duality, and that's the way the mind works. But let me show you something that I think is going to be helpful. And that is that in this particular case, I believe this person is 35 years old. Now, I'm going to take the first 5 years off of her life, but in reality, the first 0 to 5 is really the impressionable times of your life. But that's not the point. The point is 30 years. This young lady for 30 years has been influenced, indoctrinated, persuaded to think a certain way. And so now she wants to craft her life in a different way. And so the mind is naturally, in the body and the spirit and the emotions is naturally good. There's going to be natural resistance. Natural resistance. And the natural resistance happens to everybody. There's nobody that is immune to this resistance. Everyone runs into resistance. If you're looking to get in shape, you run into resistance because you don't want to go to the gym. You don't want to run. If you're a writer, you run into resistance where you don't feel like writing that day. If you're a sales rep, you have resistance and you don't want to make the prospecting calls that day, right? So we all run into this natural resistance. So how do we get over this natural resistance? There's a couple things at work here. One is called FOF, fear of failure. It's where people are afraid of failing, and so they figure if they don't even try, at least they won't fail. But in reality, they are already failed. And so it's really an insidious type of fear, but it's there. So part of that is what's running into your mind. And then there's also fear of success. Now, this is, when I bring this up to people, they say, I don't have fear of success. I want to be successful. Well, you got to realize that the construct that you have in your mind right now of who you are, if you become successful, whatever that means, right? If you lose 50 pounds, you're a totally different person. If you earn more money, you're a totally different person. You might take yourself out of your group. And so there's a natural resistance, fear of failure, fear of success. So how am I going to help you get through this? Is number one is 21 days to create a habit. Habit creation. Good or bad. Replace the habit. But that doesn't mean that once you do the 21 days that you're done. 21 days sets it up where it's habitual. It's the next 21 days and another 21 days that really sets you on pace. So it's really 21 days times 3. It's really 63 days to kind of lock that habit in or to get rid of the other one. Because anytime after that 21 days, you could backslide. That's why recently, if you're part of my email list, and if you're watching this and you're not, I ran what I called the 28 days to change. 28 days is the time frame. If you go to alcohol or drug addiction, it's usually 28 days. So this was 28 days to change. And the point I made in those messages that I sent to you, quite possibly, is that to change in 28 days, you take 1 or 2 or 3 habits and change them and insert an activity. And I use the example, 1 push-up, 1 sit-up, 1 jumping jack. Now, that is the simplest form. How many people think they could do 1 sit-up, 1 push-up, 1 jumping jack? Or how many people think they could write 1 email a day? Or how many of you think that you could do 1 selfie video a day, right? If you're in business, or if you could learn a certain skill every day, or you could watch 1 video or a part of a tape or a CD or something every day. Only 1 thing. Can you do that for 28 days straight? Can you read from a good book every single day for 28 days? That's as simple, that's as hard as it is. And some of those things are very simple, and yet there will be resistance because there's going to be a day you wake up where you don't want to read. You don't want to read. You don't want to do a selfie video. Now, why would you want to do a selfie video? Well, if you're in sales or you're in some kind of business where your business runs on video, you might need to do that. Might be something that's required. How do you get good at doing something is repetition. First video on day 1, probably not so good. By the time you get to day 28, you've got a lot more to show. That's what the 28 days does. I'd recommend it for everyone watching. But getting back to the email, that was only part of the issue. So that's part of the issue. So as you're listening to this, I want you to understand that you've got to, in order to change, you've got to understand it's a mental, physical, there's going to be resistance. Once you understand there is resistance, no matter who you are, doesn't matter if you make $1 million a day or $1 million a year, or if you're making $20 an hour, it doesn't matter. We all have a resistance. It's getting through the resistance. And I coach a lot of people that have success in certain areas. I have a lot of executives that are earning a great deal of money, but they're missing it out in other areas. They can't relax. They feel like their health is at risk because they're getting triggered. Relationships with the family, relationships with the kids, the wife, right? These kind of things. So they're successful in one area, but in another area, they're having issues. There's resistance. All right, let's go to the next question on her list, if we can. And that is that she's also realized that the financial goals for herself is going to require her to build up a new skill set. And I call that specialized knowledge. Specialized knowledge or skill. She recognizes it. A lot of people don't, but she did, which is great. And so you have to create opportunities for that particular knowledge and skill. Funnily enough, she says, I've always had an interest in tech, but the cost and time for that education always has kept her away from pursuing it. The options keep popping up to her, and she's done some short-term courses, but she feels like maybe she should just stick with what she knows and not do that, right? And this is, again, resistance. It's easy to keep doing what you've been doing than to, and I just wrote it down on the board without, well, there it is now. So the fact of the matter is there's going to be resistance, and the resistance is that learning curve. Specialized skill, specialized knowledge is one of the most important things that I train people. A lot of times people will come to me and they're an engineer, they're a technologist, and they want to learn sales. They've never done sales. There's a learning curve. They have to get that specialized skill, that specialized knowledge in order to make that happen. So here's what I would recommend. Again, my writing is not that great, but you want to get a stack of books of whatever that subject is, and you want to start reading, and you want to, let's face it, you got the internet, so you can go on YouTube and you can research everything. So here's the first step. So the first step is find out what you want. What you want. You're going to find out what you want. And this is a formula that I've used with every client, probably going back 25 years or more. What do you want? Right? So what do you want to learn? When do you want? Right? So what that means is, when do you want to make this happen? You want to make it happen now? Well, there's again, time frame. And so that's the next best thing. When do you want it? Right? So what? Now, if you're looking at a new specialized skill, there may be several different iterations of what that looks like. And that's why you need to, I call it fail fast, is find out what you like and what you don't like really quickly. And then land on something and say, I want to learn this. And then when do you want to get good at it? You start putting in the time. So you stack of books. You order a bunch of books on Amazon. When I remember consulting with one company years ago, at any time we would take on a new project, whoever was the project manager for that project, we would go through the Amazon books, the best books on that subject, investing, real estate, commercial real estate, whatever it was. Read all these books. And we would order those books for whoever that project manager was, and you would go in their office with a stack of books on that subject. And part of their job as they were getting familiar with this project was reading all those books or picking segments out of that book so that they could understand whatever that learning was. I did the same thing when I was learning hypnosis years ago. I bought every book, every course, everything I could in that course of study to get good at it. And within 9 months of starting that, I already created my own structure course book after only 9 months because I immersed myself into that. Now, if you don't have the money to go to Amazon and buy every book on the subject, go to the library. They're still out there, but that's what I did. I went to the library. When I was getting involved in advertising and marketing, I went to the library back in the early 90s. There was no internet, at least for me it wasn't. And I got a stack of books, advertising, marketing, and I started learning about direct marketing, direct advertising, not email, but mail marketing, direct mail. And I started to learn way before I had access to my first internet, my first browser experience. I was doing that. Specialized knowledge. That's how you get it. So when do you want it? Number 3, which is might be the most important one, is what do you need to give up or postpone to get it? So for example, if you want to learn this skill, what are you going to have to give up to get it? Time, maybe some money, certainly time. And you may have to take time away from something else. Maybe your golf game. You may have to take it away from whatever else that you enjoy, watching TV, whatever. Number 4. What is the result? Now, I want you to do this before you actually go into it. And of course, you can use this pattern, this 4-step pattern, for anything you want. And it works beautifully every time. What do you want? When do you want it? What are you willing to give up or postpone to get it? And then what is the result of that? What is the result going to be? Now, in a case of this person, this young lady, more money, better career path, something that she can enjoy more than she's doing right now, right? These are all questions that you write down. If it's purely a money thing, put that down. How much money? If you're making X, what are you going to do when you're making Y? And then there's a whole other piece to go into of how to vision board it so that you understand that when you get there, it's going to be a better lifestyle, right? But anyway, that kind of breaks down this whole process through this email that I got. And so what I want you to do, and I'm speaking directly to you, and you know who you are because you sent the email, is that number one, you need to know there's going to be resistance, and that's okay. We all have to face it. And then it's understanding the fact that you're going to go through these changes. You're going to feel that resistance almost all the way through until you get a cadence, until you get a habit. I always recommend to people read every day, even if it's only 5 minutes, even if it's only a page. Read every day. Build habits that you're going to be proud of. And if you do that, you're going to get better results for everything in your life, whether it's relationships, health, wealth, so on and so forth. Hopefully, I've answered that question in a good way. Of course, there's so many layers to everything. Every one of these questions are layers that we can go into depth. And when I coach somebody, we go into depth. What do you want? Why do you want it? What's making you want that thing, right? In some cases, somebody wants a car, somebody wants a house, somebody wants more vacations, right? When do you want it? When do you want that car? When do you want that vacation? Again, that's just examples. And I wanted to keep this as short as possible, but I wanted to pack enough information in here that would give you the ability to understand that these things work if you work it. So take this information, take the 4. What do you want? When do you want it? What are you willing to give up or postpone to get it? And then what does that result look like? Why would you want that result? Anyway, thanks for watching and have a fantastic day. So long.